Okay, so here we are. I'm George Yates, and this is Justice for All. So thank you for joining us. Here we are on this beautiful day out there in Hampton Roads, Virginia, and we'll be here for the next hour on this show here. And it's going to be really a cool show, I think, today, because we're going to be talking about brain fitness. I know, brain fitness. But this is going to be interesting today because we know most of us have been touched by someone with problems with Alzheimer's and other issues regarding the brain. And we've got a couple of guests on the show today that are really interested in this kind of subject. And it's really all going to be focusing on a charity event, which is occurring next week, September 11th and 12th at the Fieldhouse. And we'll give you the address and all the details, but it's a ping pong event, ping pong charity event for brain fitness. And we've got the founders of this charity event with us today, Scott Sauer, PhD. He's a neuropsychologist, and he's here on the show. How you doing, Scott?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. You know, I just kind of got briefed on this in the last few days, and I got my tickets to come next week, and we're all talking about it now. It's like, oh man, we're gonna go play some ping pong next Friday night at the Fieldhouse, and so listen, tell us a little bit about your organization. This is you're a neuropsychologist. I'm sure this is just something you do on the side.
Well, very cool. Yeah, I volunteer my time as the chair of the Table Tennis Charity Foundation. It is a nonprofit group, and I get the chance to bring awareness about neuroscience applied to daily life for individuals who have mental health challenges and neurological challenges. And so our charity partners are People in Need, which is a poverty-based resource group in Virginia Beach, Vanguard Landing, which is for individuals with intellectual challenges. It's a planned community. Parkinson's disease and Alzheimer's disease. And my job typically is to evaluate and to differentiate different types of neurologic disorders for physicians. And so I'm a specialist in that sense. But in this role, I get a lot of fun out of a therapeutic benefit to mental health and brain fitness by playing ping pong, of all things.
Well, I saw that you play ping pong for 2 minutes, and it helps your brain. It's amazing.
Yeah, the amazing thing is that really the science says that probably the best thing for your brain is aerobic exercise. Aerobic exercise brings your brain's fuel, oxygen and glucose. It burns it like a combustion engine called metabolism. And exercise alone has been age-defying in research. It shows that you actually can grow volume in the brain in two places, the corpus callosum, which is between the two hemispheres, and the prefrontal cortex, which is in the front of the brain. That translates into speed of processing and thinking flexibly. Now, aerobic exercise, we all know that as different types of activities, but literally, if you engage in a sport and you are perspiring with 10 minutes, 5 minutes or so, that's aerobic. Now, the simplest exercise that's aerobic is probably walking. However, ping pong exercises so many different parts of the brain: eye-hand coordination, balance, stamina, challenge, strategies, being able to return the ball, keeping your cool. So many different areas of the brain are actually being activated when you play ping pong.
So this event's going to be at the Virginia Beach Fieldhouse next Friday night. That's at 2020 Lansdowne Center Way. What you set up, I see that you set up about 30 ping pong tables. It's open to the public. People sign up, they call in, and they register. How many people are you expecting to come to this event? I see the DeLoreans are playing, and also the Evan Button Band. So this is quite a show. You've got band playing, you've got entertainment, you have food and drink, and the whole deal,
Yes, we also
right?
have the roller derby girls will be there again doing a 50-50 rally raffle. We also have two women professionals who will be our entertainment. Last year we had two men as our entertainment from Susan Sarandon's ping pong club in New York City called Spin. This year we have an Olympian, Kim Gilmore from California, the Los Angeles area. She is an Olympian through the U.S. Table Tennis Association, and also the Greece national champion. Her name is Iana, and she is also a supermodel. So it'll be pretty amazing to have them as our entertainment. People will get a chance to challenge them in a ping pong match and win money and prizes as well.
Okay, so for those of you that are listening out there, you need to call, and I see the number is 375-8198. Is how you have to call to sign up for this thing, or how do people register to show up?
Yes, you can go online as well, pingpongforcharity.com, or you can call the number 757-375-8198. There is a charge for the admissions to the party, the Ping Pong for Charity Friday night event. It is open to the public. We will have 30 brand new Kettler tables to play on. There will be a live auction, a silent auction. There will be a robot that you can play against called the Nuji robot. There'll be prizes. There'll be giveaways of tables and the Nuji robot. It's going to be a grand time, and of course the DeLoreans bring a big crowd too.
Right. So pingpongforcharity.com. But then what I also see, Ken Lees is, I guess, is the president of your foundation. I see that's Table Tennis Charity Foundation, Inc.
Yeah,
so,
Ken is actually the founder of Ping Pong for Poverty, which started about 7 years ago or so, and it has evolved into a nonprofit, the Table Tennis Charity Foundation, and Ken Lees is the president of that. But it's his baby that he founded, and he and I met at an Alzheimer's program at the Broderick's home, the president of ODU. His family had Alzheimer's in it, and we met there, and he asked me if I played ping pong, and got enthused about the fact that there's actually some science behind this, and that bringing the idea that brain fitness can be promoted through playing ping pong is just the coolest thing.
Well, I was talking with a friend of mine last night about us going to this event, and she said that she was an awesome table tennis player. So I think we're going to have some serious competition.
Oh, that's awesome. It's great. People always say that, I used to be really good back in the day, and we say, well, come on, bring your game on.
So let's say somebody wants to go to this thing. I mean, how are they going to get? Are they going to get matched up with one of the pros? Are they going to get? How does that work?
Well, that's interesting. The Friday night is open to anybody. You can play on the tables. You can participate with the band, the live auction, the silent auction. Saturday is actually the recreational tournament. We'll probably have close to 200 participants from ages 7 years old to over 80. The Westminster Canterbury will bring their club that we helped start called the WC Pongers. They're going to be coming over in a bus. They'll be playing at the senior level. But that's on Saturday. Saturday, you actually, when you sign up, you designate whether you are a beginner, intermediate, or advanced. The one thing we don't allow on Saturday for the recreational tournament is rated players. So in other words, professionals can't come in and compete against the amateurs, but the rated players are certainly welcome to come to the party on Friday night, since that is more informal and it's not actually the tournament itself.
So the party on Friday night is not going to be the tournament itself. That's more of a exhibition type thing, right? And
that's right. It's going to be an exhibition type of thing, and people can play on the tables. Last year, we had every table was occupied just about all night long, doubles and singles, and people would rotate in and out. And again, you can play against a robot called the Nuji robot, which is a lot of fun too.
And that's the Friday night thing.
That's the Friday night thing.
With the band, and there's and now there's a charge for that, but that money's going to charity, right? So
yeah,
it's a good.
It goes to charity, and there is a charge for that. I believe it's $45 for a ticket for Friday night. To register for the recreational tournament, it's only $20, and for the tournament, you get a T-shirt, you get a paddle, you get a goodie bag. And you're guaranteed 5 games of 3 matches. In other words, you best out of 3, 5 games.
Oh, man.
And if you continue to win, you can move on through your bracket, your age group, and your designation level of play, and potentially you could take a trophy home.
Well, that's awesome. So anybody that wants to come, if you don't get the information, once again, it's at the 2020 Lansdowne Center Way. It's next Friday night, September 11th. If you want to go to the party, and if you want to go and do this, pingpongforcharity.com, you can register. And if you want to call my law firm later, or even to the station, we'll give you the information if you're riding in your
Very good.
car and you can't get that. Let's move into what your charity obviously is, raising some money for brain fitness and mental, I guess, disease awareness. You're a neuropsychologist. Tell us about this a little bit. Alzheimer's and all of it. It touches everybody.
Yeah.
What do you know about this disease and mental fitness and brain fitness?
Well, for the past 15 years or so, I was the chair of the Medical Scientific Committee locally for the Alzheimer's Association. We would get together with physicians and discuss research and to track things across time. The interesting thing at this present time, what neuroscience is advocating towards degenerative diseases like Parkinson's or Alzheimer's disease is really lifestyle. It is a heart-healthy diet. It is moderate exercise, stress reduction, stress management, quality sleep, engaging in different mentally challenging activities and social activities. That's really what's being promoted to develop what's called cognitive reserve. In other words, to lower the risk of developing a degenerative disease and putting the years in the future that it might actually come on later. In other words, to try to reduce that risk. And so the interesting thing is that my job typically is to differentiate disorders, and now I'm actually able to say that from a scientific perspective that these types of activities like playing ping pong is actually good for the brain, developing all the things we're talking about in terms of lifestyle, the exercise, stress management, mentally challenging activities, and social. And one of the coolest things is whenever you mention ping pong, people start to smile, and you just get miles of smiles in the group.
Well, this Alzheimer's thing, though, it's the research is still in its infancy, isn't it? I mean, you're really on the cutting edge, I would guess, because there's so much we don't know about what brings it on. I mean, you read about...
Well, there's probably a number of variants of Alzheimer's presentation. So, for example, there's a variant where Alzheimer's comes on early in the family, so a 40-year-old, 50-year-old. That's an unusual circumstance, and that's a different variant than somebody who has symptoms that begin in their 70s or 80s. Alzheimer's disease is a disease process that essentially knocks out an individual brain cell one cell at a time. There's 100 billion brain cells, so it takes decades and decades and decades, essentially, before it starts to manifest itself so somebody could see it in a person's behavior. There are a number of different theories that the people are tracking in terms of science, in terms of trying to get medications to curb things. One of the latest things is to try to develop a medication that dissipates what's called beta amyloid plaque, and to dissipate that so it doesn't clump together. That's one of the current medication research trials that are going on. But you're right, we're definitely in the infancy of trying to figure out what's going on and trying to find some type of way to stop the disease process. But currently we don't have anything on the market that arrests the disease process and provides a cure. So what we're really advocating is lifestyle, prevention, risk management, those kinds of things. But on the other hand, science is rapidly moving forward. We have many different models. There's different drug trials that are being reviewed by different universities across the country. So it's a very exciting area for neuroscience. But you're right, we are still in the infancy in terms of trying to arrest it and stop it. At this present time, we don't have anything like that.
Yeah, because you're always reading, oh, gee, you need to learn a new language or learn to play the piano at an advanced age, but then there's no explanation for somebody, 49 years old, otherwise fit and yes, basically adopting all the lifestyle choices that you advocate and can get early onset. So there's kind of no rhyme or reason to it, isn't it?
No, they probably had a genetic anomaly to begin with, and it manifested itself early, despite doing all the things we already advocate. You're right about that, and that's very tragic.
So where does the money go that you're raising money for charity? How much money have you been able to raise in past years, and where does it go as far as research?
In the past 7 years or so, I think that the total is about $350,000 has been raised. And we have expenses to put on our tournament and our party When the expenses are paid, then we're able to disperse. The rest of the money goes directly to our charity partners. In the past year, we were able to raise $75,000. I believe our expenses were close to 30. We were able to give $45,000 back to charity partners. And this is how this works, is that when you donate money, or when a corporation donates money to the Table Tennis Charity Foundation, they can designate who they would like it to go to. Would they like it to go to Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, people in need, or to Vanguard Landing? And that ratio of the amount of the to the total amount, we then take that ratio and we apply it to the check that we write back to the charity partners. So let's say that Alzheimer's was 1/4 of the amount that was raised past our overhead. They get a check for 1/4 of the amount that we have as a net from the charity proceeds.
Well, this is an amazing event that you've. How long have you been? Have you been involved in it the whole 7 years?
No, I have only been involved for 3 years. When Ken approached me about developing a nonprofit and moving into a different realm, we were able to do a couple of other amazing things. One was that we have been able to be endorsed by the U.S. Table Tennis Association. That is the Olympian pro group in the United States. So we are now endorsed by them, and the reason is that they would like to promote the sport of table tennis to younger individuals, and that perhaps someday somebody will turn out to be an Olympian or a pro. And so in that sense, we're actually bringing this message to the community schools as well. So, for example, we've already been in a number of schools in Virginia Beach. We plan to do more, and we plan to put on a tournament in the springtime between high schools called Battle of the Paddles. And that essentially is that we're having companies donate tables to the schools. We designate a teacher who's a sponsor. They develop a club, and we're encouraging the development of scholarships for ping pong players within the schools. Many kids can't make their interscholastic sports team, but many kids can play ping pong, and that's really what we want to promote there and through the U.S. Table Tennis Association that we have with them. If
you've just joined us, I'm with Scott Sautter. He's a neuropsychologist. He's a licensed clinical psychologist. He specializes in brain diseases, specifically, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and these other diseases of the brain that are debilitating and life-threatening. And we're talking about this charity event, which is Ping Pong for Charity, which is going to be next Friday night, September 11th, and then a tournament on September the 12th. So if you're interested in doing that, go to pingpongforcharity.com or call the station or call my law firm. And it's been really a pleasure to be with you, Scott. I also see that you are a stand-up paddler. I mean, I'm way into that. I live up on 85th Street, and I see you live in Allenton. And what kind of stand-up board do you ride, and when were you last out on the water?
Just this past week, as a matter of fact. The waves weren't that great, but we had a grand time. A number of the guys in the neighborhood have bought boards, and we go out at dawn and back home by 7:45, showered, then off to the office before 9 a.m. I ride a Starboard. It's a 10.5, 32-inch wide board, and it's perfect for catching waves here in Virginia Beach that are not too big, but fun to get on and to ride and have a grand time.
Oh, that's a floaty, light, carbon fiber. It's kind of a cool board. It got a lot of length and a lot of width and a lot of float to it, so you can catch anything out there.
The next thing we haven't done yet, but everybody's talking about, is get some GoPro cameras on us so that we look like we really know what we're doing.
Yeah, those are a lot of fun. Well, listen, it's really been fun to have you on the show. Is there anything else you'd like to say about your charity? Or, I mean, one thing before we went is I did want to at least recognize that you have an enormous number of charity partners here. I went through this list, and you've got the Kettler folks donating the ping pong tables. You got Chantel Ray. You got Westminster Canterbury. You've done a really good job with getting charity partners in this. So I guess going forward, this is sort of just the beginning. If this thing keeps going for the next few years, you probably can turn it into quite more of a fundraiser than it is even now.
Yeah, I believe that's true. It's just so fantastic to get in front of folks. I give a talk when we don't, typically we would approach a retirement community, a school, a church. We would approach them and say that I'd like to be able to give a talk, and the talk is called Cross-Train Your Brain, Play Ping Pong. I get a chance to talk about how aerobics, heart-healthy diet, quality sleep, stress reduction, brain training programs are all good for your brain, and then I weave ping pong in at the end. Then we have a company that donates the table to that agency, and then we have a couple of players who demonstrate their prowess and get people excited about playing ping pong. And we have had a lot of people, companies that have chipped in and sponsored us. Currently, since my real job is where I get my income from, I don't get a dime from the Table Tennis Association, my time is pretty limited, but we have a waiting list, obviously, of getting into different communities. And so if I had more time to be able to do that, we'd certainly be able to spread it out quicker. But because of that circumstance, it's kind of a slow process, but a lot of fun at the same time.
Well, we're going to be interviewing Ken Lees, who is your, I guess, your partner in all of this in the next half of our show. So we're going to let you go and spend after we do a little commercial break. So listen, I hope to meet you next Friday when I'm coming to this thing, and I look forward to seeing you.
Good. I look forward to saying hello, too. Thank you very much for your support.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Sauer. Appreciate you being on the show.
Okay. Take care now.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Okay, so that was Scott Sauer. He's a doctor of neuropsychology. He's a licensed clinical psychologist, and really kind of a cool thing here, this brain fitness thing. So we're going to go to a short break, and before we do, I want to let you know that this last half hour and the next half hour of my show, Justice for All, is sponsored by the Village Butcher, family-owned and operated, and it's at 1608 Hilltop West. And I'll tell you what, you want some baby back ribs, you want some Kobe prime rib, you want some of the grass-fed, the best meat in all of the Hampton Roads, 7 cities, go to the Village Butcher, family-owned and operated, at 1608 Hilltop West, and tell them you heard about the show on Justice for All. We'll be right back with this commercial break, and we'll be right back. The next 30 minutes, we're going to talk with Ken Lees, who is also a co-founder of this Ping Pong for Charity, and we're going to talk a little bit more about brain fitness with him.
The place for authentic Indian food is the India Palace. They feature authentic Indian cuisine, have a party hall, and do catering and banquets. Open daily for lunch and dinner, they showcase an excellent lunch buffet at their Chesapeake and Virginia Beach locations. Visit their 2 locations at 1437 Sam's Drive in Chesapeake off of Battlefield Boulevard and 5600 Virginia Beach Boulevard in Virginia Beach, and online at IndiaPalaceVB.com. On Facebook, look for India Palace Virginia Beach and India Palace Bar and Grill. Dine at the India Palace today.
Leaky faucet, refinishing old countertops? Hey, Gary Sullivan here. Perhaps you're restaining a deck or painting your living room. Whatever it is, let me help. I'm here to give you the tips you need to finish those pesky projects you've been putting off. If you're restaining, have a tip for that. Can't get the paint off the hardwood floors? Got a tip for that too. I'm here to make sure that $5 repair doesn't turn into a $500 repair. Join me right here every weekend.
Saturdays at noon, Sundays at 9 a.m. on AM 1650 WHKT, The Answer.
Hi, this is Greg Picaveros, inviting you to join me for Sports Scene live each Wednesday from noon to 1, right here on News Talk 1650 and TuneIn.com by typing WHKT in the search box. Excellent guests and interaction at Greg Bick on Twitter, all powered by HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com. Sports Scene each Wednesday from noon to 1, right here on News Talk 1650.
Are you prepared to defend yourself and your family against any threat? Veteran-owned and operated One Shot Trading Post is ready to make sure that you are. Continuing training and classes on defense, survival, and weapons. Full gunsmithing services, special orders, and financing available with military discounts. $15 transfers, and One Shot Trading Post is always looking.
Holiday weekend campers are being advised to head to the mountains far south of a growing wildfire in Kings Canyon National Park east of Fresno. The blaze scorched about 134 square miles, forcing roads and about 10 campgrounds to close around Hume Lake and Kings Canyon. Authorities in Illinois say they've recovered a new piece of what they call significant evidence at the scene of an officer's killing. A detective within the Lake County Sheriff's Office says he thinks police are getting closer to identifying somebody that, quote, they're wanting to talk to in the murder of a Fox Lake, Illinois officer. Saudi Arabia's military says 10 of its troops have been killed in a rebel missile strike in Yemen, bringing the number of coalition troops killed in the attack yesterday to 55. 45 of the troops killed were from the United Arab Emirates. And this is SRN News.
All right, we're back. I'm George Yates, and this is Justice for All. Thank you for joining us for our last 30 minutes of the show here on Saturday afternoon. I've got Ken Lees with us. He's the founder of the Table Tennis Charity Foundation, and he's an avid ping pong player, and would like to invite him to the show. How you doing, Ken?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having us. Wasn't Dr. Sautter awesome?
Yeah, did you get a chance to listen to that on your radio?
Of course. I would never miss anything that Dr. Sautter has to say.
All right, well, listen, tell us what in the world. I mean, we've all played ping pong, but it's got a lot more of a history to it than probably a lot of us realize. I remember playing it when I was a kid at the Army-Navy Country Club when my dad was up and living in Northern Virginia, and we played it all the time between a swimming pool and everything else. So what is it about ping pong that has interested you, and how in the world are we going to a charity event this year? That's pretty unusual, isn't it? It's the only ping pong charity event in the world?
Well, I don't know about the world, but let's say, let's at least bring it down to the United States anyway. We've got a pretty creative thing going on, and it's really a huge thanks to all of the volunteers and folks that surround themselves with us to share the passion of how ping pong is just an awesome platform to bring awareness to mental health and brain fitness. But yeah, so by trade, I'm a marketing guy, and so years ago, when the thought of a question that I was asked that I could not answer, and this was 12 years ago, the question was, what did I do professionally to give back? And my world is surrounded very much in the automotive industry, and my response was, well, maybe the car dealers that I help sell cars for, or maybe the manufacturers that I represent, maybe they give philanthropically, maybe they go to church and tithe, maybe they, it really bugged me that I didn't have an answer to that question. And so it dawned on me that most nonprofits, generally speaking, that are looking for ways to raise dollars or raise awareness for their said cause do so through some kind of a sporting event, right? Typically, it's a golf tournament. Typically, it's a 5K run, or it's another walk, or it's a softball tournament. So one of the questions formed was, when was the last ping pong tournament that came to town, right? So if I were to ask you that, what would you say?
I would have no clue.
So therein lies what really began the what ifs and the thought of having a ping pong event.
Well, and you were a ping pong player yourself, so you just said, okay, man, I love this game, so I think that's what I'll do, because I see that you started playing ping pong at 5, and it's like it's your numero uno sport. So, but you know what is? But ping pong is like something you think about. Wasn't Forrest Gump a great ping pong player?
So I've heard, and so the movies show.
Right.
That's right.
So ping pong is a game everybody has played one time or another. I mean, it's ubiquitous. So what is it about ping pong that drew you to the sport? And tell us about ping pong, the sport itself.
Yeah, so, ping pong, just for clarification, is really a trademarked term, kind of like Kleenex. So ping pong is really the game, and it's a brand. There's actually a brand of ping pong products, tables,
ridiculous.
balls. So table tennis is actually the sport.
Oh, yeah, but nobody calls it table tennis. Everybody calls it. It's kind of like Kleenex. You're right. Okay,
that's right. You don't. Pass me a tissue or pass me a Kleenex, right?
So do we have to pay these people every time we mention ping pong?
Well, there is a long story, but there's not enough time on your show to share all the story behind the term ping pong. But in short, we do have permission by the owners of the the trademark term, which happens to be a company called Escalade Sports, to use the term, and we have full approval of doing so.
Gosh, how long is it? So they've had that trademark for many, many years because it was ping pong when I was a kid.
Yeah, I don't know when they established the ownership of the term, but regardless, ping pong, just for clarification, is the game and it is a brand. Table tennis is the sport, and hence one of our equipment providers, Kettler. It should be known that Kettler doesn't manufacture or sell ping pong equipment. Kettler produces, manufactures, and sells table tennis equipment. So therein lies some of the legal ramifications. As a lawyer, you probably can understand that.
Oh, yeah, I better start cleaning up my act right now. All right, so tell us about the charity event. This is something that you've been promoting for many years, I guess, the 7th annual Ping Pong for Charity Tournament. Oh, I see that right there. And you've got that trademark, too. Okay, so, and it's scheduled for September 11th and 12th next week at the Virginia Beach Fieldhouse. Tell us about it. Then you got this urge about 7 or 8 years ago to give back to the community. And Dr. Sautter says that it first started out as a tournament for poverty, right? When did it become for brain fitness?
Well, it has always had the correlation to mental health. I happen to be on the board of People in Need, which is a homeless organization focused at the oceanfront in Virginia Beach. And when we first developed the event, it was Ping Pong for Poverty, and 100% of our proceeds benefited people in need. And as you may or may not know, or listeners understand, that homelessness is not only a problem, but it's not something that you or I would run out and say, on Saturday or Monday of next week, let's go be homeless. Typically, there's some type of issue at hand. Many times it's a mental health issue, be it a chemical dependency or depression or something that triggers a mental meltdown that forces that circumstance. So we found over the first 3 years of Ping Pong for Poverty that we had tremendous success. However, that second and third year, we were seeing that by calling it a Ping Pong for Poverty event, that we were really shortchanging the real potential in our whole mission. So therefore, we broadened the scope to call it Ping Pong for Charity. PIN, People in Need, is still very much a grandfathered, if you will, charity partner in receiving benefits. And so strategically, our board has decided every 2 years that we will add a qualifying mental health-focused nonprofit organization to the fold. So since our third year, we have added Vanguard Landing, as Scott had mentioned. We've added Alzheimer's, and this year for 2015 is the first year of adding Parkinson's, who put a tremendous amount of time and effort into a proposal, competing with a couple other nonprofits in justifying why they should be selected as our fourth charity partner to receive some of the financial and educational benefits of partnering together.
So next Friday night at the Virginia Beach Fieldhouse, that's 2020 Lansdowne Center Way, that's in Virginia Beach. And if you just joined us, I'm with Ken Lees. He's the founder of the Table Tennis Charity Foundation and also the Ping Pong for Charity.com website. And tell us about the tournament itself. I know I talked about it a little bit with Dr. Sautter, but first of all, the event Friday night, that's going to be the fundraiser?
Yeah, well, the whole event is a fundraiser, but Friday night is our biggest opportunity to not only share the message of why you want to play ping pong, not only for the fun and the smiles that you get, but it truly is one of the best, scientifically proven, as Scott validated, one of the best therapeutic exercises for the brain. And while any activity is good, specifically ping pong is that. So Friday night is our way of kicking off the education, and with a huge party. We expect 300-plus people to be there to dance with the DeLoreans and the Evan Button Band. We've got the food flowing, the drinks will be flowing, and a couple pros will be there to dazzle the crowd, and the roller derby girls. And by the way, it's 9/11. They'll be dressed in red, white, and blue in recognition of that very important day to all of us. And so, yeah, big fun and big time to raise money through our silent auction and auction items on that Friday night.
So the people, it's a $45 per person. What's the dress?
It's casual. Please come casual. You'll probably want to get on a ping pong table and hold a cold beer or a Pepsi and swat around a little bit with others.
I was already pulling my tuxedo out of the closet. You kidding me?
Don't do that. Don't do that.
I just could see 300 people there and, black tie, all playing ping pong. What a sight.
No, well, Scott had mentioned, he texted me just a few minutes ago to say that, look, he's going to pay the $50 donation for you to play one of the pros. You pick who the pro is you want, and for every point you earn in a game to 10, you'll get $5 back, and he's going to front the $50 for you.
No, I'm not going to take that bet. I don't want to get embarrassed by some pro.
Yeah, but you'll get a picture with the supermodel pro and a ping pong paddle sign, so that's worth him paying $50 for that, isn't it?
I don't know. I just wanted that T-shirt that was being offered. I said, hey.
So yeah, Saturday is the tournament. It's for all ages and all skill levels. Our youngest player last year was 7 years of age. Our oldest was 87.
Wow.
So we have categories for boys, girls, that are, 12 and under, 13 to 17, 18 to I don't know, I can't even remember all the categories, but everyone will fit into a category, as well as a seniors challenge and adaptive category as well for those with whom we're doing this for. So,
let me ask you a question. It was something I wanted to ask Dr. Sautter, but we, had to move on to talk some other things. This research that's been done on ping pong, because I'm fascinated by this too. Whenever there's an article in the paper or whatever or magazine, I'll read about it because the research is still ongoing as to what wards this disease off and so on. But if somebody, let's say, already has it or has early onset, or is playing ping pong going to, let's say, delay Alzheimer's, or what is the research on that? You're saying it actually benefits the brain. What is the research? If somebody's interested in this, where do they go to read about this kind of research, and what are the studies on that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm not sure that I'm the qualified candidate for the medical research behind it. However, I'm just as interested in all that as it sounds like you are. But on our website, our foundation website, which is the Table Tennis Charity Foundation.org website, we have a news tab. And in that news tab, we have collected just gobs of articles, news releases, blogs, recent studies, that are internationally found that are pointing to brain fitness, activity, and in many cases specific to table tennis. There was actually a study done in Japan that looked at a number of folks that specifically were tested playing ping pong in the before and after study. Dr. Scott just recently completed here locally a clinical study with Westminster Canterbury and their current club of ping pong players, and were able to reveal some interesting notes related to the before playing ping pong and the after of playing ping pong. So we have all that posted on our website for anyone that would like to get further information or details.
Okay, well, that's what I wanted. So it's Table Tennis Charity Foundation.org.
.org, yes, sir.
Yeah, that's the way to go. And I think that when we upload our show to YouTube, we'll make sure that we make a note of that. And of course, this show will be on my website, so anybody that didn't get a chance to hear it today can hear it on our website and on our YouTube channel. So,
excellent.
All right, well, that's okay. So, and you're going to be there on this Friday night thing and the Saturday thing.
I hope to be.
All right. So if you've just joined us, I'm with Ken Lees, and his idea for turning ping pong into a charity event has been now going on for 7 years, and I guess it just gets bigger and bigger every year. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
Now, ping pong itself, it's apparently, where did it originate? I've got some information here that it started in as a parlor game in England. When did ping pong, when did table tennis first get started, and when did this company Escalade or whatever, coin the name ping pong, if you know?
Oh, now you're playing Stump the Chump with me. For me, it started when I was in 5 years old, and it's all my dad's fault growing up on the eastern shore of Virginia. Kind of limited with things to do over there, but ping pong and anything with a ball was something that I thrived on. So I can tell you, for me, the history of ping pong started when I was 5 years ago, which was a little over 45 years ago.
And this game, though, and it's interesting how it got, and I was making fun a little while ago about Forrest Gump, but that was, back in the day, isn't that how that started actually normalization of relations between the United States and China? I mean, Nixon goes to China and does all that stuff, but it was the ping pong tournament, which was really the first real contact between the United States and regular Chinese, wasn't it?
That's right. No, you're exactly right.
Back in the 70s.
That's right. It was in the 70s. It's interesting that you bring that up, because through my formal business education as a marketing guy, I had always been taught that if you have a product, a service, an idea, whatever it is, and in this case a ping pong event, you need to have statistically reliable data to support whom it is that you're trying to reach for this said product or business or service, right? Well, there was nothing out there for that. So that's where we formed the two questions that solidified that if we rolled the dice with this idea that it would, if we built it, they would come, kind of. And so that first question was, you play ping pong? And what we found was 9 people out of 10 said, yeah, I played all the time in college, or I play every Thursday in my neighborhood. I played a lot of beer pong. 9 people out of 10 said they played. And like you responded earlier to the second question, which was, when was the last ping pong tournament come to town that you were aware of? Here again, 9 out of 10 said they hadn't even heard of one, or just looked at me cross-eyed. So it was that validation that said that everything that went back to the 70s of the U.S. relations with China, that, if we have this ping pong thing here in Virginia Beach, it will grow to something that we could license throughout the country, which is something we're also diving into as we speak.
So the very first rule of marketing, Ken, the marketing genius, is be first, and you are first in this category.
Well, we can say first, but there's a lot of folks doing some great things related to ping pong that are out there, and we just happen to be
the first
fortunate here.
The first for brain fitness, then.
Well, could be.
Yeah, I think that's in the book, The 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. If you can't be first, then you got to be first in your category. Like the first person to cross the Atlantic in an airplane was Charles Lindbergh. Does anybody know who was second? No. But does anybody know who the first woman was?
Don't know that either.
Amelia Earhart. So she wasn't the first, but she was the first in her category. So anyway, that's the second rule of marketing, I think, from what they say. So anyway, have a little fun with all this. So this is the Ping Pong for Charity. Those of you who just joined us or missed the first half hour of the show when we were talking with Scott Sauer. Virginia Beach Fieldhouse, 2020 Lansdowne Center Way, Virginia Beach. This is next Friday night and Saturday. And I've been talking with Ken Lees and Dr. Sauer. And Ken is the founder of this thing, and you're still the president of this foundation. How much time have you spent on this event?
I don't keep a clock to it. It's just such an enjoyable thing for me. I would say I put a lot of time into it, but I am the a volunteer president. We're very proud in this foundation to say that 100% of our net proceeds are distributed back to the causes of what we're in a very serious way intending to benefit.
So that money, when it does go back, how does that, this whole charity thing is interesting because there's so much scandal sometimes around charity, isn't there? You always worry about whether or not the money that you're giving is actually going to the research and not going to whoever is doing the charity. So
Right.
How do you make that transparent to the people that donate to your organization?
So we're a very transparent organization, but essentially what we've created is a performance-based model with our charity partners in that essentially what they are able to help bring to us and our events through the recognition of corporate sponsorships or ticket sales to our Friday event or auction items that they donate or player registrations, all that being very measurable, we're able to determine contribution from said charity partner. So that contribution that is brought to all of our events is then what helps us determine allocation of net proceeds back to each organization. So while we're writing checks back to those 4 charity partners, we are also integrating table tennis and ping pong programs into the community. Businesses, churches, retirement communities, and schools now all have either clubs or some type of formal ping pong program as a result of what we're doing, and that too is a direct reflection of donations or contributions or corporate support. But we're a very transparent organization, intend to be. Scott, as you heard, has more than a full-time job. I have more than a full-time job, and it's our mission going back to 12 years ago when I was asked what I did professionally to give back. Personally, and for the record, I can now say that, well, maybe this is a checkbox or a crown that could answer that question.
Right, so everything you do is volunteer, and Scott's a volunteer, and everybody that does this sort of thing is not paid, so it's all going back to charity.
That's exactly right.
And you're a 501 nonprofit organization, so
yes, sir.
All this money will eventually be going to the research for the things that it's supposed to benefit.
That's exactly right.
And your charity partners, they're Alzheimer's. We got people in need. When you've got people in need and Vanguard Landing and Parkinson's, so when we're talking about brain fitness, are those the main diseases that we're talking about is Alzheimer's and Parkinson's?
Well, as it stands today, those are our 4 charity partners that all have a common theme of some type of mental health challenge or concentration or focus within their organizations. And as I mentioned earlier, every 2 years, strategically, as we grow, we intend to add another charity partner to our organization to help write checks for. And so, really, through an interview and a qualification of that nonprofit, if there's an organization that would like to be considered for 2018 and then again in 2020, and then as we continue to move forward, as long as it's a mental health focused organization, there's nothing that would stop us from utilizing the platform of table tennis and ping pong because it satisfies all of those disparate groups.
I don't think that we can let the show end today without discussing what was in the morning paper. I don't know if you read this morning's Virginian Pilot. It's certainly a timely article.
Yep.
About the fact that there's just hundreds of people sitting in our jails because there's not enough room in the mental health facilities. And it's a problem that I've been noticing as a criminal defense lawyer for many years. You've got these the jails are housing people. We don't have a place for people to go. And you talk about the homeless who have these mental illnesses. They they might break a law, a real minor little law, and next thing you know, they're in jail without a bond. And it's a sad situation that we don't seem to have enough funding, I guess, either from the government or from private individuals in order to assist these folks. They're sitting in a jail where they're basically just being housed in a deplorable situation when they should be getting more help for their mental illness. And it's just commendable to you that you're recognizing this need. What do you see going forward on the more general issue, if you know, Ken, about what's the future of the mentally ill in this country when we don't seem to put the resources to take care of them?
Well, I would concur with your comments. I don't know what the future is, but obviously we have an issue, and the only way the issue is going to be resolved, from my personal opinion, is we've got to find resources to, one, get more beds, two, find more capable folks that want to lend their time, expertise into figuring out what the solutions are. And it needs to be a top priority with some of the leaders in our government to put a fix to it, like any other big issue that we have.
Well, at least you're doing your small part to raise awareness of the mental illness problem in the country and to do something about it. So it was really a pleasure to have you on the show, Ken.
Thanks so much for having both Scott and I. We're very grateful and look forward to shaking a hand and watching you hit the ping pong balls next Friday night.
Okay, no promises. All right, thank you, Ken Lees, for joining us today on the show. We'll see you next Friday.
Thanks. See you next week.
All right,
Bye.
So we're going to probably close out the show. We just got another minute or two, and just go ahead and raise a little awareness. I couldn't help. I got up in the morning this morning. I did read the Virginia Pilot. It's been a problem in my mind for a long time. I wanted to do a show on it. I think I'm going to do a complete show on the problem of the mentally ill and how we don't have enough resources for them and how they are being housed in our jails instead of mental facilities. We have people that are sitting in our jails that are incompetent to go to trial. And instead of being in a mental institution, they're sitting in a jail. And there was one that just died, and it's a very prominent article in this morning's paper. And so it's something that needs to be addressed. We can certainly today's show raises the issues regarding the mental diseases these guys are helping us out with. In any event, so thank you for both Ken Lees and Scott Sauer to come on the show today. And if you need information about this ping pong charity event, or go to Table Tennis Foundation.com and get some more information about it, or call my law firm and I'll get you some information on how to join this charity event if you want to come. Sounds like a lot of fun. The DeLoreans is one of the top bands in this area, and it's food and drink, and it sounds like for $45 it's a pretty good deal, and you don't have to wear your black tie. Hey, it's casual dress, which is kind of a nice thing. You don't have to get too dressed up and worry about it. So anyway, that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to going there. That's next week, September 11th. I believe it's set from 7 to 11. So we're going to let you go now. And listen, once again, if you on my